Hello there guys, and welcome to another one of my reviews. Today we are taking a look at what BMW claims to be the most fuel efficient 5 Series ever made. I'm talking about the BMW 520d Efficient Dynamics Edition. Now, the 520d usually comes with a 2-liter diesel engine with 4 cylinders and a total power output of 190 horsepower. Together with that, you get 400 Newton meters of torque, which is a lot for a 2-liter diesel. The Efficient Dynamics model used to come with a less powerful engine in order to be more efficient. Usually, Efficient Dynamics models used to come with 2-liter diesel engines, but tuned to make 163 horsepower. It's no longer the case in the new G35 series, and the one I'm driving today has the same 190 horsepower and 400 Newton meters of torque that we've gotten used to. Now, this is basically the entry-level diesel model. You can also get the 580-18D model, which has the same engine but with 150 horsepower, but that's basically the lowest diesel engine you can get, and I wouldn't recommend it. The Efficient Dynamics Edition is set apart from the regular model by a couple of features. For example, the car defaults to the Eco Pro mode. Whenever you start it up and you leave, the car starts in Eco Pro mode automatically. Normally, 5 Series models, all of them start in the Comfort model. Now, BMW probably did this in order to make sure that the car is as efficient as possible. Does it work? Well, we'll see about that later on. Other tricks BMW used in order to make this car a bit more efficient are the active front kidney grills, which open and close depending on the temperature of the engine. What I should mention is that in Eco Pro mode, the diesel engine and the petrol engines altogether work at a higher temperature than normally in order to be more efficient. So that leads to another thing that you need to keep in mind when looking at the 5 Series Efficient Dynamics model. Whenever you stop the car, especially if it's hot out, it will keep its vents running in order to cool the engine. That's because it's running in Eco Pro mode all the time and the temperatures are higher, just as I said. So you shouldn't be surprised if you stop the car and the vents keep working in order to cool the engine off. Now, that leads to a bigger strain on the battery, but this car, the Efficient Dynamics model, comes with a bigger battery to keep that up. Furthermore, it recharges the battery constantly using the Eco Pro mode because it has energy recuperating brakes, and it can recuperate a lot of energy from when you're slowing down or braking. So the battery in this car is larger than the other cars, the 520d, for example, in order to recuperate a lot of energy and then use it to cool down the engine. Another thing I should point out that I noticed the Efficient Dynamics model does all the time is coast. You'll be coasting a lot of the time you're driving this car around town, and that is because the fuel consumption will go down if your car is coasting, of course. Now, the gearbox setup has been done in such a way that the car changes gears upwards extremely quickly, most of the time under 2000 RPM, and that leads to a rather slower character from the car. It feels mellow all the time. You don't need to get anywhere in a rush. It feels like it just wants to relax and sip as little fuel as possible. Of course, you can enter sport mode or comfort mode, and that whole thing changes. In comfort mode, however, I noticed that the gear changes are just as fast, and the car is still set up to be as efficient as possible. The main difference that you immediately notice is that the car doesn't coast as much when you enter comfort mode. In sport mode, it also keeps the revs up and it behaves just like a 520d, a normal 520d would. Other things I noticed about the car that set it apart from a normal 520d is the fact that the wheels come with Michelin tires, and they're not run flats, they're eco tires. They're green tires, if you will, tires that reduce the drag on the road in order to keep your car more eco-friendly and keep the fuel consumption in check. Other than that, to be honest, I didn't notice anything spectacular on the efficient dynamics model that would drastically change its character compared to other cars. I'm sure that if you get a 520D, a normal 520D, the car would behave just the same in Eco Pro mode. The only notable difference being that when you start it up, it would be in comfort mode, not Eco Pro mode as the efficient dynamics model is. That said, how about the fuel consumption? Does all this work? Well, to be completely honest, I didn't get to test the normal 520D before getting this car, so I couldn't set a benchmark in terms of fuel consumption. However, I was really impressed by the results I got with this car. Why am I saying that? Because around town, in the world's 5th crowdest city, I got a fuel consumption of 7 or less liters per 100 kilometers. Actually, one night the board computer showed 6.7 liters per 100 kilometers, which is amazing for a car of this size. Now I have to praise BMW as well, because they did work wonders and they lost a lot of weight on the new 5 Series. This 520D tips the scale at just over 1600 kilos. And for a car of this size, that is mighty impressive. Leaving that aside, on the highway, right now I am doing roughly 65 miles an hour on average. That's 110 kilometers an hour, and the fuel consumption is showing 5.5 liters per 100 kilometers. Now, if you keep this up and you live in Germany where highways are endless, you could probably cover more than 1,000 kilometers with one gas tank, which is amazing. So far, I am getting close to 1,000 kilometers, even though I did 200 kilometers around town at a higher fuel consumption, and I still have about 700 kilometers of range on the highway. So my guess is that if you're careful with the throttle, you can do over 1,000 kilometers on one gas tank. So this car is really efficient. But how about speed? Well, it's not blazing fast, at least not compared to today's standards. BMW claims that the 520D Efficient Dynamics Edition model will do 100 kilometers an hour from standstill in 7.5 seconds. Now that is fast. It is fast not only because this car is pretty big and considerably heavy. I know I said that it lost a lot of weight, but it's still quite heavy, and it only uses a 2-liter diesel engine, but it's still quite fast off the line. Furthermore, on the road you can accelerate quite vigorously up to triple-digit speeds, 100 kilometers an hour, and over that it will keep going up until about 130, 140 kilometers an hour, and it will do so comfortably. But after that, doing any overtaking at speeds over 140 kilometers an hour, especially if you have more than one person in the car and some luggage with you, will make you clench your butt a little. So it's not extremely fast, but it is efficient. To have a 5 Series and to have a fuel consumption of 5.5 liters per 100 kilometers, that is just outrageous. It is incredibly efficient. Admittedly, this fuel consumption was achieved with a bit of light throttling on my part, because you do have to be careful with the gas pedal, and using only Eco Pro mode. I'm sure that if I were to use comfort mode or sport mode and increase the speed, the fuel consumption would rise. But I'm guessing you could take it up to an average speed of 120 kilometers an hour, and the fuel consumption would still be under 6 liters of diesel for each 100 kilometers, and that is notable in my book. The car you see here isn't fitted with all the latest technology, and I'm guessing that's what contributes to this lightweight of it character of hers. And what we do have is this beautiful cognac leather. It's Dakota leather, it's not the upgraded version. This comes in standard if you want it. We have Sensatech on the dash, and it looks rather good. I'm not a very big fan of the exterior mineral white color, but it's okay, it grows on you, and that is a personal choice anyway. So overall, is the Efficient Dynamics model worth the money? Well, this car has a price tag of 71,000 euros, and it starts off at just a bit over 50,000. Would I pay this much? No, I would go for a 3-liter diesel, as I recommended you guys in my previous review of the 5 Series in touring, guys. I would go for a 3-liter diesel, not only for the added power, but also for the refinement of the engine, of the 6-cylinder engine. Now, I do have to praise BMW because they did a great job at concealing the engine noise under the hood and balancing it out really good, in order to make sure that you don't get bothered inside the cabin. It is a really silent configuration, and the 2-liter diesel engine that is a bit rough and rugged around the edges on other models does feel a lot more smooth inside this cabin. But I would still go for a traditional 3-liter diesel engine with 6 cylinders, all set up in a straight line. This has been my review of the 5 Series 520D Efficient Dynamics Edition. Hope to see you guys next time. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe if you like what you see.